How's it going today, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is really different and I'm kind of scared because I'm going on a ghost tour today. You heard that right. This is totally out of my comfort zone. Some friends of mine decided to go on a ghost tour at Heritage Park. And I was like, you know what, Angie? Step outside your comfort zone and do something fun. So I'm gonna join up with some girlfriends of mine and we're gonna go on a Heritage Park ghost tour. I'm so excited, but to bring me some cheer, I'm wearing like a Mickey Mouse Halloween pumpkin shirt. Can you see that? Because that's about as spooky as I usually get. So if you're new to my channel, stay tuned because I have no idea what's gonna happen. I may just get too scared to even film. I may cry, but I'm so excited because this group of ladies that I'm with always have a great time. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Angela. Usually I get to go shopping. Today we're going shopping for spooky spirits. So make sure to stay tuned, click that subscribe button, and let's head to Heritage Park for a ghost tour. Okay, so I'm all checked in. They've given me a flashlight. I have to put it together. I don't know what to expect.
So, Heritage Park is a museum. Most of the buildings, except for one, which we'll be going to later, are not original to this piece of land. If you were to go back over 150 years, where we're standing now would simply be a bit of prairie with one little homestead that belonged to Mr. Sam Livingston. Is it the houses that have been moved around? Or as some people have suggested, maybe the artifacts? Or what I think is the most unsettling thought of all, maybe it's always been here. And it's just been waiting for someone to come and visit it. Now we're gonna head off to our first stop, which is the horse station, right over there. Period costume. She had a big poofy skirt on. This shadow had trousers and was much more broader and taller than she was. And it almost seemed to be getting closer and closer to her. And so as it got closer and closer to the point that it almost was touching her, she decided to get out of there as quick as she could. Now, I don't know what it was, but perhaps Mr. Kronk was feeling a bit lonely and just wanted to say hi. We're gonna head over to our next stop, which is the Livingston House.
A little creepy.
Now, as I mentioned before, this land was originally the homestead of Samuel Livingston. Right behind me, this is what's left of his house. This is actually only half of it. At some point, the other half was sold by the next owner. What happened to it, that's a mystery. Now, probably the scariest thing about this house, Sam and Jane had 14 children. And all of them lived to adulthood. So this house was very cramped. Interpreters who work here have had many strange encounters, such as hearing footsteps upstairs when they know that they're alone, or knocking and tapping. Now, I'm gonna actually bring you all inside for our story. Yep. It was originally sitting right about where the clock is, and the sofa that's right over there on that wall was actually right here. Now, it was a rainy, cold, snow day, and the interpreter was sitting reading a book in the rocking chair. They hadn't had a guest for God knows how long. And while they were sitting and reading, they suddenly heard a sound. So they look up. They can't see anyone, but they decide to get up and walk over and peer out the window. Maybe it's someone playing a prank on them. No one's around. So they sit back down and go back to reading. And sure enough,
we going inside again?
You can guess, it's the original one-room schoolhouse from Gleason. It was built in the 1880s. And at that time, Gleason was an even smaller town than it is now. So, as you'll be able to see when I let you look through the window, it's not very small, or it's not very big. In fact, in this school, actually, the parents of the children, the father specifically, were to make the desks and chairs that the children would sit on and study at, normally kind of a picnic table. And there are stories from this school of them not being made up to code and children collapsing in their desks during lesson. Now, the second floor of this house was what's called a teacherage. It would be a place that a school teacher would live during their duration of employment. The entrance of it is up a rickety staircase at the very back, which staff and guests are not allowed to go up because it's very rickety. Now, in the modern era, it's just used as an empty room, no storage, nothing. One of our interpreters was sitting in here back when it was interpreted, which was a little bit ago now. And she was writing in her logbook about what had been going on in the day. As she was writing in her logbook, she suddenly heard footsteps right above her, crossing the second floor. Freaked her out, obviously. She wasn't allowed up there and guests weren't, so she quickly ran outside, finding the gate leading up the stairs still locked. She decided to climb over and go up and look in the back window. Nothing. The room is entirely void of furniture, and it has 4 big windows that let in quite a lot of light. If someone were up there, she'd be able to see them, but no. She goes back down, sits back down, and goes back to penciling. And no sooner does she put the pencil to paper than she hears...
Did you guys see that? Did you guys see that?
What? Oh my gosh, it's creepy with the flashlights. It's like a movie. It's like Blair Witch Project. I know you can't see me, but this is so creepy. I'm gonna have nightmares for days.
He thought nothing of it and continued on. And that's when his wife said, "Oh, looks uncomfortable." Now, he hadn't fully noticed the divot before, and so he remarked, "Yeah, it wouldn't be comfortable, I guess." And she said, "Well, yeah, look, it looks like someone's been sitting there." So he went back in and took another look. And sure enough, the imprint of the bed that he had.
Oh, animal heads. Okay, I'm gonna insert footage here because guys, I think I caught a ghost on film and I'm not lying. It's not a fence post, and they walked right in front of this barn that we're passing right now. I am freaking myself out. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. Was it a ghost? Or was it a fence post? Ooh.
this is our town graveyard. Is everyone familiar with the difference between, or does anyone even know what the difference between a graveyard and a cemetery is?
No.
Graveyard has a church in it. Cemetery has no church.
Oh.
So this isn't a real graveyard. There's no one buried here, but they are real headstones. And in fact, that tall obelisk one at the back, that's actually Samuel Livingston's original tombstone.
Oh, wow.
Was supposed to be open. No, she said, and quickly rushed up the stairs to see that the door was wide open, flapping in the breeze. Unlocks the door, enters the room, and closes the door to the balcony. She turns around to go and exit. That's when suddenly the door slams shut, and she feels very unwelcome in the room. She decides to quickly exit. Rattled the window panes right next to him. It was that forceful. And what's really scary about that is that that back door has been nailed shut since it was moved to the park in 1964.
Oh.
Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot of physical touch phenomenon related with this house. One of our other tour guides, Edith, actually had an encounter while on a tour. She was standing on the stoop where I am right now, telling the stories, when suddenly she felt a hand on the back of her neck, slowly moving down her back before moving away. Artifacts from the time period. They are up to code, don't worry. Now, this grand centerpiece is our Ferris Wheel. The Ferris Wheel has its origins actually in medieval Europe, where it's said that some children on carnival days might ride on watermill wheels. These little carts have a number painted on the back of them. And this story is specifically about seat 4. Children, when they're put on there in pairs, they're completely fine. But when they're put on that seat by themselves, they'll often cry and ask to be taken off. Sometimes when it's empty, children will wave at the entirely empty seat. And every time a ride operator asks them, they always say the same thing. Waving at their little girl.
Look at those northern lights, you guys. That's crazy. That is really weird.
For help finding her missing child. So most people, being good Samaritans, agree to help her. And when they go to get help, or they look away even for just the split second, they turn around, they find that she's gone. Now, there's a...
Okay, we're coming up on a house that has scared me since I was a little girl. And I think he's gonna tell me a ghost story about it. I'm so scared.
The house is just about that. So this house was built in 1894 by Mr. Peter Anthony Prince. He originally was from Trois-Rivières, Quebec, before moving to Wisconsin to work for the Eau Claire Lumber Company. He then moved up to Calgary in order to start another operation of the company. They would cut logs down out in Kananaskis, float them down the Bow River, and then mill them at Prince's Island, which is named in his honor.
Oh.
This house was not that far from there, and it's actually the first in the city to have indoor plumbing, electricity, and central heating. He was really rich. But as a few of you remarked, It's really spooky, at least by modern standards. This house is built in what's called a Queen Anne revival. It was very popular around the turn of the century, especially for big, wealthy families who could spend on such lavish living. Maybe it's the spooky turret, or the fact that oftentimes these mansard roofs, as they're called, were used as a way to have living space in the attic. And the idea of something living in the attic is just inherently creepy. Another reason might be that around the 1950s, when horror movies were starting to take off, a lot of these homes across North America had become abandoned. Families had lost money, or they'd been sold off, or everyone had died off and no one could upkeep it. So they fell into disrepair, leaving so many of them abandoned that many directors or authors took inspiration from these dilapidated houses that they saw daily. When suddenly she hears upstairs a thud, and what sounds like a woman's voice very faintly murmuring. So she goes upstairs, looks into the rooms, no one. She thought maybe it was curatorial, just taking a look, and they snuck up through the back door and up the servant stairs without her seeing just anything. She was very skeptical, and she is a very strong skeptic even still. But this she can't explain. She went and sat back down. She heard it again, but louder, as if someone had knocked over a book or an object inside the room. So she went upstairs to take a look. Nothing. She went back and continued to read her book, this time humming to herself to pass the time. And that was when she suddenly realized she felt like she wasn't being watched, and like she wasn't alone. It felt like something was watching her from inside the parlor. So she looked up, and that was when she saw what seemed to be the shoulder of a woman in a big poofy sleeve, which was very common at the time this house was built, moving just out of view behind a pair of doors. Which begs the question, why is there this woman dressed in all white sitting in the nursery room that we've set up in there, holding a baby? No matter how much you tap on the glass or try to get her attention, she won't notice you. But sometimes guests have spied her looking out that window as they learn about Heritage Park.
Okay, my friends, we survived the spooky ghost tour. It wasn't so spooky. It was actually quite beautiful with like the fall leaves and the northern lights. The stories weren't too spooky. I'm very proud of myself. Mickey helped me out. So thanks so much for watching. Happy Halloween, everybody. Make sure you stay tuned because tomorrow it's all Christmas. It's our time. We're just crossing the street. It's our time. I'll check you guys later. Bye. Happy Halloween!